G'day guys, so phase 3 is just around the corner. We've probably only got about 4 to 6 weeks to go. So let's talk about some of the things you can be doing between now and then just to prepare yourself and make sure that you are ready to go once phase 3 does drop. So this one is for all the PvE players out there who have not been getting their arena games in. I talk about it a lot on my channel, Arena and gearing for Arena. But I think if you were going to do anything for, the remaining 6, maybe 8 weeks, who knows how long it's going to be. We're not going to get any communication from Blizzard. You can bet on that. But it's to find just a friend, find a guildie who's also interested, but start getting those 10 games in. If you can do 3s, do 3s. And if you can do 5s, even better. Get the most amount of points you can in these last couple of weeks. Mainly because the PvE weapons, if you haven't been getting them, maybe you've been hanging out for a Fang of the Leviathan, a Light Fathom Scepter, and the RNG hasn't gone your way. We've all got grand plans at the start of the phase that we're going to get full BIS, but now let's start preparing for that plan B. The PvP weapons, obviously the rating will be removed. Usually you need 1850 personal rating to get access to purchase the weapons, but the PvP weapons are really solid options, second BIS for a lot of classes, and for a lot of classes they are BIS. So, for your Ellie Shamans, for your, you haven't got a Nexus key, for your Shadow Priests in particular, think about getting those 10 games in now and picking yourself up a BIS weapon. I've got this really handy diagram here just to compare, what would be a BIS for a class and then the PvP equivalent. So, we've got the Merciless Gladiator's Salvation here, comparing that with the Light Fathom Scepter. So Light Fathom Scepter, really what we're interested in is the healing power, so 443 and then 11 MP5. And then you've got the Merciless Gladiator's Salvation, which very comparable stats, slightly more stamina, a bit more resilience, but we've also got 423 healing power. Now, obviously that's not as good as Light Fathom Scepter, no one is claiming that. But this is easily your second BIS for many classes. For your shamans and your priests in particular, as well as your druids, of course. But 20 less healing power, that's not the end of the world. It's easily your second BIS. You get up the staff from Solarian, or you could still be rocking a Light's Justice. So it's a huge upgrade, and I think if you kept your characters every week and you really push to get a higher personal rating, you could easily pull enough points to get something like this. And here's another one. I've got the Fang of the Leviathan, obviously very sought after weapon for a lot of casters, including your Protection Paladins as well. 221 spell power and that 21 crit is really nice. But the PvP sort of equivalent that I would recommend is the Gavel. 15 spell hit, which is really nice for your Ellie Shamans, your Shadow Priests, your Warlocks in particular, and that 225 spell power. Now, obviously a Protection Paladin would love to have Fang over something like the Gavel, but this is like a really close equivalent. You could almost say it's identical in terms of stats. If you need the spell hit, Warlocks, this is for you. Obviously the Spellblade and the Gavel have the same kind of stats. It's just whether you wear daggers or maces. I think your Warlocks, you'd be wearing the Spellblade. Shadow Priests could be using either, but the Gavel probably looks cooler in my opinion. And then obviously your Paladins, you'd be wearing the Gavel as well. Now, I've talked a lot about the weapons. Obviously, they're really strong, so I've led with those, but they're also really close alternatives for a variety of the other slots as well. Here's a really typical example that I think also a lot of people go for is obviously everyone wants Mindstorm bands. If you like my guild, we've only seen one pair so far, and that was just last week. So good stats, 13 stamina, 13 intellect. The crit is obviously really nice, almost 1% at level 70, and that 36 spell power is really strong. But you've got a really nice close second here with the Veteran Silk Cuffs. More stamina, a little bit more intellect, a nice gem slot, and 14 crit and 22 spell power. And obviously the resilience comes with it as well. You could easily, if you wear an Arcane Mage, you could be putting intellect in that yellow socket. And if you were a Warlock, you could put in spell hit and spell power and get that nice socket bonus as well. But I could go on and on about all these different PvP options. You know, if you're a Fury Warrior, you haven't got a Netherbane, you can pick up the Merciless Gladiator's Cleaver. Really close alternative, I would say within a few DPS, either plus or minus. But that's also not to say that the main pieces aren't good for, you know, your warriors as well. The warrior pieces have a great amount of crit on them. You know, everyone knows crit is king when it comes to warriors. But again, the list could go on and on. And the main point being that you won't have access to these items unless you try. You might not. You might have left it too late, let's be honest. But there's not a whole lot to do at the moment while we wait for phase 3. You'll have all this extra time after raids now. Grab a guildie who's also interested in maybe picking up one of these pieces and just get your 10 games in, have a bit of fun with it. It's nothing serious. Just make sure that you at least have your options available to you and you don't just say, oh, it's too hard or it's too late. Give it a go. You might enjoy it.
Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe if you are enjoying today's content. And as usual on my channel, for every new subscriber that I do get, I donate $1 to the chosen charity of the month, which is Reach Out still. We're making a donation on the 1st of January, and I'll also pick out a new charity as well. So please subscribe if you're enjoying the channel and you'd like to support the Reach Out program. Thanks, and let's get back to the video.
So I did touch on this briefly before when I talked about the honor pieces, but for people with alts, maybe you've got a tank ult, now is the time to start getting in your battlegrounds. You've probably missed the most recent AV, but when the next AV comes around, I know it is very depressing going into AV all weekends, but the honor is just amazing. And I think for a lot of tanks, everyone obviously they want the off pieces. The neck is really strong, braces, belt, and boots. But that's also not to say that, like I said before, the casters can't be picking up a really nice pair of braces. A lot of our physical damage dealers, your enhanced shamans, your rogues, the braces are also a really nice option as well. I say the braces because I think with, you know, Belt of Deep Shadows, Belt of Blasting, Boots of Blasting, you know, Edgewalkers, with these items available, those kind of slots are already taken. What you might not have access to is, you know, Vambraces of Ending and those Mindstorm bands as well. So I think the braces are a really solid option. They require such little amount of marks and little amount of honor, so they're a really easy option if you wanted to go down that route. A word of warning though, I'm basing a lot of this information on what happened last season. You can never take anything 100% when it comes to Blizzard, but at the end of season 1, we did get a 50% reduction in the honor required for the off pieces, and the marks required stayed the same. But I will add on to that and say it is worth buying the items quickly once they do go on discount. I can't quite recall how long it was, but they eventually ended up taking the 50% reduced items, you know, the season 1 items, and in this case it'll be the season 2 items. They took them off the loot table and the vendor table entirely. So don't say, oh, I'll buy it next week. Oh, I'll buy it during the season. When season 3 drops and phase 3 drops, I'll buy it then. I won't buy it now. I think that's a huge error because a lot of people, including myself, got caught out just by thinking that. I was like, well, these are all going to be on 50% discount forever now, and I can just buy them whenever I want. Don't do that. Once you can afford a piece, buy a piece. Do not get caught out by Blizzard's lack of communication. With potentially only a couple of weeks left, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 8 weeks. I would say now is the time to start pooling your arena points. It's not worth buying one more piece when in, let's say it drops in 4 weeks time, you could have bought 2 pieces. I know it's tempting to, when you can buy an upgrade, to get an upgrade, but be efficient with your points, pool them. And I always say to anyone who asks on my previous video or asks me in game, or it's a friend, should I buy now? I'd say pool for shoulders. Obviously the rating requirement of 2,000 personal rating will be removed. So make sure you're pooling enough for shoulders, which is like 750 points. And then if you want a weapon as well, whether it's a main hand or an offhand, save 50% of that item. And then, you know, let's say it's 2,000 points, 2,050 points that you're saving. You want shoulders and you want weapon. So it's about 2,050 points. So save for that, and then as a priority, because you won't have access to those items. The next thing that I would suggest everyone start doing is for all the PvPers out there who have been playing quite a bit during the season, now is the time to start pooling your points. It's not worth spending your points this week when in 4 weeks time we might have the new phase and all of the gear will get discounted to 50%. If you're doing quite a bit of PvP but you haven't quite hit the 1850 or the 2000 bracket yet, it's definitely worth obviously pooling for shoulders and a main hand weapon or an offhand weapon if you haven't had access to one of those yet. So shoulders would be 750 and say you're saving for a main hand, that's probably around 1300. So you've got, make sure you're saving 2000 points. And then as a priority, because in season 3 you won't obviously have access to the season 3 shoulders immediately, so those season 2 shoulders are going to be really key. You're going to have those for a really long time as you upgrade all the pieces around it. But again, think about what your plans are for season 3. Think about what you'd like to save for, what are your biggest upgrades, and then just plan your gear accordingly. We've got access to all the prices of what season 2 gear should become once the season ends. You can go to the vendor and buy the season 1 gear and just base your points required off that. There are heaps of choices out there, so just make an informed decision. But if you would like some advice, please put a comment down in the comment section and I will definitely get back to you. I'll give you my opinion and you can tell me a little bit about what your gear is like, how many points you're sitting on currently, maybe how many points you're getting each week, and we can come up with a plan about how you should be saving and what you should be saving for. The next thing that you could be doing between now and when phase 3 drops is completing the Netherwing quests. If you don't know what the Netherwing is, if you like the Nether Drake mounts, maybe you see a few rank 1 and gladiators around on their glad mounts and on their Nether Drakes, you can get your very own in phase 3. The Netherwing faction does become available and the dailies do become available. But before you have access to the dailies, you need to complete a lot of the pre-quests that unlock that. So the quests begin at Morondai in Shadowmoon Valley. He's the Blood Elf. I think he carries 2 weapons around with him. He'll give you a quest and he'll get you to do a bunch of quests in a bit of a chain. I won't go into detail about Morondai and the quests and how to do them. Just look up one of the Netherwing guides that are on Wowhead or just Google one. They're much more comprehensive and detailed than I could ever give you. But do yourself a favor and do those ahead of time. You can probably well imagine how many people like the Nether Drake mount and would want to be doing the dailies on day 1. So leaving it to the last minute, doing those quests around Shadowmoon Valley will just be a nightmare. All the Horde will be there, all the Alliance will be there, fighting over mobs, killing each other on quest givers. So just avoid any kind of that headache as much as you can and just go straight fly in there, get your dailies and get out. And the next one is preparing for progression. New raids means new bosses, which means new loot, new mechanics, and so on. So now is the time. Look up a Black Temple boss guide. Crix has some amazing videos. He did it on the PTR. He's been in private service for a really long time, and he has a great way of explaining fights. So I would definitely go check out his channel. I'll put it in the description for everyone to go check out. But I do enjoy brushing up on all these fights just because I'm interested, and I want to do as well as possible and get the guild as far as possible as well. So read up on your fights. Stock up on all your consumes. I'm just going to get a guildie to make some Flask of Relentless Assaults for myself, just for the first couple of weeks. But, stock up on your scrolls, your repair bots. Stock up on things that you might also overlook, Dark Runes, Mana Pots, for Rogue, Swift Thistle. Go out and farm your own Swift Thistle if you want to. I know prices are really high at the moment, especially on my server. But also you'll need stuff like the Resistance Gears. So read up a little bit up on the Mother fight. Maybe cover yourself by grabbing some Primal Shadows and some Primal Lives. We still don't know how much you're going to need when Phase 3 does drop. We have a little bit of information on PTR. It was up for a couple of days and a couple of people did the fight. But a lot of people were saying it was really easy. A lot of the final sort of Mother, Illidari Council and Illidan fights were in their nerfed state. They didn't have a lot of the mechanics that they should have. a lot of the phase 2 Illidan mechanics like I-beam and stuff like that just didn't happen. So I'd imagine that the PTR is down right now, and will come back up, and the bosses will be tuned slightly to be a little bit closer to what they would hope phase 3 would roll out as. But yeah, just make sure that you're kitted out for when phase 3 drops. When that first raid hits, you're ready to go. You've got your scrolls, you've got consumes, you've got repair bots, mana pots, dark runes. You're read up on all the fights, and you can just go in there and blast. Now, this is a bit of an optional one, but again, it's something that you can be occupying yourself with and chipping away at in these final couple of weeks, which is preparing for trash farming. What you might have heard is a lot of the shadow resistance gear requires a material called a Heart of Darkness. Currently on the PTR, I heard someone quoting that they did a whole Black Temple and 5 Hearts of Darkness dropped, which is not a lot, to say the least. And what you can do, if that is true, to get ahead of that is to do some trash farming in Black Temple. You could also do trash farming in Mount Hyjal, and the reason why I would say do it in Black Temple is that the trash drops are just a little bit better in Black Temple. A lot of the items that drop are BIS for entire classes, namely a lot of the rings that drop. They're not unique, so you can be wearing 2 of them, so getting a few of these early on will really help your progression. In the last video, I did say that I would get a guide out for you guys on how to best do the trash farming and detailing a little bit about the mobs that are in the first room, so you have a better idea of what I should be CCing, what do these ads actually do, and which packs should I be doing. And I will get that out to you guys before phase 3, just so you can watch that and prepare a little bit more effectively. But yeah, you could be doing this 1 hour before your designated raid time. You just say, hey guys, who's interested in doing some trash farming? I would say at a minimum, you need 10 people, maybe 2 to 3 tanks, maybe 2 main tanks. Maybe you want a bear tank and a paladin tank, and then you can have a warrior chuck on a shield as an off tank. Ideally, you would want 2 to 3 CC classes. So if you've got 2 mages, get them in there, maybe a warlock, and then the rest you can just fill with DPS. But if you can get more, if you can get 15, if you can get 20, if you're 25 players, just to come in an hour earlier, and just do the first 2 packs in Black Temple, loot, reset over and over again for an hour before raid. That'll really help you guys out, especially on those more bottlenecked fights like Mother Shiraz and so on. And lastly, obviously, achievements are now gone. So I know a lot of guilds are taking a break from scheduled raiding over Christmas, and that's great. Go spend some time with your families. But for the nights that you do continue to play, get yourself into a GKP. Now is the time to build up that gold stack a little bit. It's been depleting a little bit, buying 10 haste spots every night. So build that back up. Get an ult in as well. Get 2 raids in with the nerfs and the achievements removed. You can see a GKP do SSC and TK quite easily within 3 hours, accounting for maybe 1 or 2 wipes as people get used to these nerfed fights that are very different nowadays. But yeah, definitely do yourself a favor and stock up on, replenish those stocks a little bit and get some gold in, and also get up those, get some gear on those ults that you've been having in the wings, gated by those really annoying reputations. I know I've got 2 or 3 classes that have carry geared, but I just could not bring myself to farm all those heroics to get those reputations. So now's the time. But that's it. If you think I've missed anything that you'd like to share in the comments, please do so. If you'd like to suggest anything that we could be doing between now and phase 3, definitely let us know. I'm sure we'd all love to hear it. But again, thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed the video, please like and do subscribe. For every new subscriber that I do get, I obviously donate $1 to charity, which is the Reach Out program. But thank you so much. Good luck out there, and I hope this video helps you out a little bit. Thanks so much. See you guys.